Hello, I am Javier Becerril. I am now a Wangari Maathai Visiting Professor at the Global Partnership Network at University of Kassel. I am full-time professor in the Faculty of Economics in the Autonomous University of Yucatan in Mexico. Now, I would like to explain you part of my work. Part of my topic is about eroding diversity and heritage in the Mayan Milpa system under economic pressure and also climate change. We are losing a lot of agrodiversity, probably also affected too for the public policy programs in Mexico. And I want to explain why is important this topic, because Mexico and Yucatan is center origin from many crops. For instance, many crops from maize, beans, squash, and chili. We are center origin on many crops to spread around the world. Now the concern is a huge one. And I would like to explain a little bit the contents of this presentation. This e-learning is a small introduction. Also the Mayan Milpa as epistemic subject and living archive or file of resistances. For instance, we have a strong history about the colonialism, origins, and globalization also, and also the economic pressure. It will be involved in this topic. The public policy programs, how affect the agrodiversity in Yucatan, and also we have empirical data, how is losing agrodiversity. My data collection is coming from 17 years of data collection in Yucatan. And then is a proposal of the world. How the Milpa Maya is a proposal of message of the world. And then a conclusion and remarks. Let's start it with e-learning. My introduction is the Milpa Maya as epistemic subject and living file or living archive of resistance. And then the proposal of the world. Why the Milpa Maya as epistemic subject? The Milpa system usually bring the knowledge is a subject or epistemic subject because they transmit knowledge to the smallholder farmers and sometimes make an effort to question the Western universities. The Milpa system is a exactly example of living agricultural system inside in the Mayan people in my place in Yucatan. For a reason, is quite important because it's a living agricultural system that bring knowledge with the humans through generation, through the time. Is a epistemic, a living self-organized entity, and generates histories and the knowledge through the sociological practices. Now, let me put some specific topics about the Milpa system can be conceptualized in 4 analytical dimensions. First of all, the ontological dimension. The second one is the biocultural memory dimension. And the third one could be epistemic justice dimension. And the fourth one is agroecological co-production dimension. Together, these 4 topics together, these dimensions show the Milpa is not a passive objective, but is a living epistemic subject, a dynamic entity that learns, remember, and the teaching sustainable Mayan life, culture, and territory. My theoretical framework, I would like to share with you, with all of you, is from different actors, different professors, different researchers from the global south. For instance, one of them is Gustavo Esteva. He's talking about the critique of development. Arturo Escobar is also an ontologist of the world and post-development critique. Aníbal Quijano and his contribution, the coloniality of power and epistemic and social structure. And also I would like to show how the global south interaction with Boaventura dos Santos, the epistemology of the South and the sociology in absence. Walter Mignolo, an epistemic of detachment in the border thinking. And also, I would like to share with you some contribution from many friends of mine from the global South, talking about the agrodiversity, for instance, or talking about the agroecology is Miguel Altieri, and also Victor Toledo, his policies of the ecology and markets, subaltern knowledge and visibly. And also one of my colleagues she is talking about Silvia Terán, and she documents and preserves the milpa in a living heritage. And also one of friend of mine is Ramon Mariaca, and he provides a deep ethnography of the Mayan and culture knowledge. And also Mauricio Belon, and he demonstrates the importance of in situ conservation of this kind of crops in the hands of the small-scale farmers. If we look at a small and very roughly and over the history of Mexico, we can see before the conquest, the pre-Hispanic, pre-classic Mayan people. Around 2000 years before Christ, the Mayan people began cultivating crops such as maize, beans, squash, and chili. And all these crops feed a huge civilization, Mayan civilization. And after that, the conquest came in 1521. And the Mayans were forced to live in a concentrated village and El Selvet together, to live together from Spanish people. And after that, in 1810, we win the independence in Mexico. And then the latifund, the concentration of the land property or set of large rural properties belongs to the single owner. And after that, several years after, we get the revolution in 1910. This revolution is a very nice part of our history in Mexico because end of latifund. Latifund is the concentration of the land, and the Mexican Revolution they call ejido. Ejido is the social property of the land. This is the most beautiful part of the history in Mexico. Why is it a social? Our revolution spread on share the land to many people. And after that, we get this called free market, called NAFTA, or free trade agreement with United States, Canada, and Mexico. It started in 1992. We went reforming an article in our constitution. Now, this modification allowing to privatization of the land, the ejidos land are able to sell, unfortunately. And then we pass 30 years or 3 decades, and we continue. But some important, through this all time of the history, the Mayan people continues to plan the milpa system, offering a very nice services to evolution of the crops, and they maintain the knowledge and they maintain everything after all long history. This is quite important now to understand. If you see the different federal governments, I talk about at least the 7 federal governments. Each administration has 6 years of administration from the federal government. And we continue with this neoliberal transition from the neoliberal programs. They started in the liberalization of the agreement with the American free trade. They continues to general agreement in tariffs started in 1985-86. The agrarian reform, it was, remembered, in 1992, ejidos privatization, and the free trade NAFTA started in 1994. High heterogeneity in the maize production in my country, all is quite heterogeneous. We have hills, we have lowlands, we have different cultures, but the free market started. It is the same public policy programs for everywhere, any place of my country. And increase the agro-industrial sector. Many people, many investment came from United States and also from Canada. It's important to point out something. There are a couple of researchers, there are a couple of professors. Santiago Levy is one of them, and Swider van Bergen is another one. They propose that the milpa sector, in a neoclassical point of view, that the small-scale farmers move to plant staple crops to cash crops, looking for the advantage. This is the principle of neoclassical economic theory. The small-scale farmers follow to the prices to move to the staple crops to cash crops. It was the hypothesis behind from the free market in Mexico. And after that, what happened? Nothing. The small-scale farmers is achieved of living resistance, and they continue planting. Let me share with you some data. The improved maize in Mexico, the Green Revolution started in Mexico in the decade of 60s, in the past century, and they started to spread improved maize. And what happened now? After many, many years of the Green Revolutions, most of the area in Mexico continue to planting traditional varieties, local varieties, or criollo varieties in 75% on the total land in Mexico. Only 25% is planted with improved varieties. Now, the export is increasing after the NAFTA is increasing in the last couple of years to the markets, to the communities, to participate in the global economy. And after that, many foreign investment is coming to Mexico, many companies. But one important sector or two important sector is tackling the Milpa system. One of them, the fast food, display the Mayan Milpa diet. All these companies that they produce a lot of food, cheapest food, and spread a big companies. For instance, I would like to mention something, big companies from United States like Coca-Cola, Nestle, Kellogg, and many companies is investing. And this kind of food or fast food is displacing the Milpa sector. Also, another important sector is the fast fashion. Fast fashion now is improving the life, the modernity, and the small-scale farmers live in opportunity cost. They prefer to work in the maquila sector instead of to produce milpa agriculture sector. This is a huge movement now. It's a little bit worry. Now, I would like to share with you this economic pressure. Small-scale farmers in Yucatan continue to planting the milpa system and to live in the rural areas. Something is very nice because they keep the relationship human and nature, and they continue to planting in a frugal style of life. For instance, Guillermo Bonfil Batalla theory of the two Mexicos posits the existence of deep Mexico rooted in Mesoamerica, civilization and indigenous culture, and the imaginary Mexico definition by exogenous Western culture and seeking to improve itself for the farmers. This is like to Mexico we live now, the modernity in the ideology and the indigenous in the rural areas. Remember, Mexico is a huge concentration in big cities like Mexico City, like Monterrey, like Guadalajara, like Mérida, by the way. In a few cities, in a small city, they live a lot of people. In Yucatan, for instance, half of the population live in the capital city, Mérida. And the rest, the another half, live in spread in the rural areas with a lot of scarcity of the social services, for instance. This is a huge challenge. In Mexico, we have also in this Western, on these indicators, in the modernity and poverty, at least 48% on the local people live in poverty condition in rural areas. It's another topic that displays the agricultural sector on the milpa sectors is the real estate industry. Now, the land grabbing in Yucatan is quite dangerous, and we are many projects like the Tren Maya is a mega proyecto, and also the land grabbing from the green grabbing is to produce renewable energy, or many companies are coming to try to invest in Mexico. There is an inflection point before and after Tren Maya. Before Tren Maya, a few people pay attention in the peninsula. After Tren Maya, this mega project financed by the federal government, they increase the real estate industry in Yucatan. You can see many pictures how they displace the rural sector or display the rural areas to invest or to create a new buildings, new houses, new investment. It's a speculation of the land, unfortunately now. This is displacing the agriculture sector. This is a real trait. The social implications also are coming. For instance, in the hands of the Tren Maya is the army, the federal army or the national army from Mexico. And many soldiers and many people work from the army live in the small towns. And this is a threat for the social people because they get scared and they broken and they break the social system, the social life in the Mayan people, the local knowledge or the local tradition. Also, there are many real estate industries in Mexico, and many people is coming. It's called like a national colonialism. Inside in Mexico, we have this national colonialism. You can see also many points on investment. One of my PhD students wrote his thesis about this investment in the new real estate industry. And he found at least 200 places to investment in Yucatan area. That means that now the people, after the modification, the Article 27 in our constitution, the heroes are able to say. Now many people leave this opportunity cost to sell the land or to keep the land. And unfortunately, many people is selling the land to these real estate companies to invest money. And obviously, this problem of poverty, the people is taking, they think in the present. In the future, it doesn't matter. They prefer to live properly in the present, unfortunately. And then they're selling the land. The small scale farmers are facing a high opportunity cost. Neoclassical economic theory say if the small scale farmers live or they present a high opportunity cost, they prefer probably to leave the local village and to do a migration because the land probably no is profitable to produce milpa now. And we're losing the biocultural heritage and also to promote the migration, for instance, to United States. Remember, in Mexico, after the oil export, the remittance is the second one. Sometimes the remittance is the first one, and the second one, the oil export. In these years, it's quite dangerous because you know the public policy anti-immigration in the United States, and many Mexicans are coming. The remittance is falling down. And usually, we receive in 1 year 60 billion of dollars of remittance spread in all Mexico. And also, the small scale farmers face the opportunity cost to work temporarily in the real estate industry in the capital city of Yucatan or in other places, working as temporary workers, and also travel to the mega projects is financed for the federal government. Now we have at least 3 huge projects in Yucatan. One of them is in the port, in the Progreso. Another one is the train, one train in the Istmo, in the south part of Mexico, and also a new rail construction from the Tren Maya to transport from the industrial areas. But something important is happening. After the people get old, they come back to the village and try to plant the milpa system. But for that reason, in my data collection, I would like to share with you, the old people is planting the agriculture sector, not the young people. The young people face this opportunity cost. Also, we have these neocolonial public policy programs, unfortunately. Before the Green Revolutions, most of these public policy programs as to assistantialists, productivists, and modernization from the landscape in the rural areas. After the Green Revolution, started many programs like Procampo or Progresa or Prospera. And now we have in this federal administration with the President Claudia Sheinbaum, they produce a Sembrando Vida or calling for bienestar, is the well-being for the local people. And the speed, their narrative, they share a common utilitarian and extractivist rationality in all these public policy programs. Unfortunately, they continue this narrative calling development. We're expecting development. We have a very wide range of subsidies for everywhere, for the cities, for the young people, for the old people, for the agriculture sector, for the infrastructure sector. But unfortunately, most of them, they don't have properly the order or the objective or the goal of the public policy program. Look like the federal government only wants to spread money and to the local people receive money and that's it. There is no very clear the specification of writing the specification or the goal of each public policy programs. You have to, this is open question, how to this work, how to the poverty work, or how to public policy program attain the phenomenon that they want to correct. Now, we have another concern. A huge concern is around the world. The main actors could be the global north and the impact in the global south. Why? Because it's the climate change. Now the temperature is increasing. It's a real and well documented. The increasing the temperature. And now we have this challenge. It is important to act today. You have these planetary boundaries. We are past from 7 of 9 planetary boundaries. For instance, the number 1 is the climate change. The second one is the biosphere integrity. The third one is the land system change. The fourth one is a biochemical flows. The fifth is the fresh water change. 6 novel entities. And 7, the ocean acidification. What is one of the vision is the unlimited economic growth or GPD. Most of the countries, most of the economies is looking forward how to increase GDP. This is a mistake. We have to change a little bit our vision. Now we had in the local level this international or global climate change impacts in Yucatan. Remember, you can see some peaks in this topic. The rural areas of the Mayan people live in the rural areas so far away. Think about they are not able to buy social insurance or insurance for the crops, insurance for the houses, and they lost everything. When hurricane is coming or tropical storm is coming, they destroy everything. And the local people or rural areas or Mayan people, they lost everything, unfortunately. Remember, Yucatan is a very flat peninsula. We share with the Campeche, Yucatan, and Quintana Roo, and it's very flat. When a tropical storm is coming or hurricane is coming, they pass and erase everything, unfortunately. You can see some pictures on the beach. They destroy, the ocean is destroying, now is increasing, and they destroy the freeze line of houses front on the beach. Another important topic that I would like to share with all of you is my data collection. I have at least 17 years working in the Faculty of Economics in my home university in Yucatan. And I collect this empirical data from different villages and different municipalities, and I collect this data. And now I can see with empirical data how we are losing the biocultural heritage. Now I would like to share with you 7 cross-sectional observations from 2009 to 2023. It means that I have more or less 2,200 households interviews or data in 96 localities in 42 municipalities of 106 in total from Yucatan. This data collection is face-to-face interview. I always ask for the smallholder farmers how many crops they plant and how to use these local crops is for self-consumption or to share with the neighbors or relatives. What is the profile from the small-scale farmers from the total? And usually the small-scale farmers plant an average of 10 crops are coming from the Milpa system and also from the solar. Solar is the backyard or the home garden. They plant also many crops in the Mayan households. And the age of the farmers, for instance, is 49 or 50 years. A number of the years of schooling is at least 5 years. That means they don't finish the primary school. A number of people residing in the household of the farmer is at least 4.5 or close to 5. That means there's a couple and 3 kids. If the household has solar, most of them households have a solar or backyard or home garden. Most of them, 70% of my data collection, has the beekeeping. This is important because it's an interaction. We say in the neoclassical theory, economic theory, is a economic scale. If they have milpa, they have solar, they also have able to have a beekeeping in the forest. And also the access to the forest, most of them go to the forest to collect something, the wood for cooking or medical trees. And also it's quite significant, most of the households has at least 2 public policy programs. And the distance from the permanent market in kilometers is a little huge, is more than 126 kilometers from the point of view. Now, I would like to share with you this dependent variable. It's like a poison chart. It's a figure of poison because many people has a lot of crops, I told you, at least in average 10 crops in the agricultural sector and also in the solar sector. A few farmers has at least 40 different crops. We are losing these kind of farmers that they have a lot of agrodiversity in their hands. This is our topic. This is our concern. Now, this sad chart or chart figure losing agrodiversity in milpa and solar. You can see it's falling down. If we separate this chart, for instance, in the milpa is also falling down. If we saw in the solar, on the backyard, on the home garden, it's also falling down. This is a reality. And then also the family size is decreasing. Now, most of the people, they don't want to have a huge family, at least 2 kids. This is also a concern because it's a labor disposal or availability for the household, how many work they have to attend the milpa sector. And also you can see this is the reality. The rising of temperature is according with the water station in Yucatan. Is a reality. I collect this data. It's increasing the temperature. Also, we can see in this chart that the falling of precipitation. Remember, in Yucatan, Most of the scale farmers depend from the rain, from the season, from the water is coming now. Now we can see in the reality is falling the precipitation also with the local data. With this data collection in all the municipalities, we have this data, and I put in this chart to show this is the big concern in the rural areas. And also the results from the econometric model, the age of the farmers, as the farmers is getting old, increase the probability that they have a huge agrodiversity in their hands. If the education increase, they left the agriculture sector. If the education increase, they prefer this opportunity cost to attend another work. Most of the scale farmers are women. Also, I told you about this economic scale. If the farmer has beekeeping, it's probably to increase the local agrodiversity. Remember, the bees offer ecosystem services, is pollination. It's very important to see in this chart the public policy programs. As the increase in the number of public policy programs, they receive money and they prefer to stay in the town. Sometimes they don't use the resources of the money from the federal government or the state government to put in the agricultural sector or to put in the home yard, in the garden, in the solar, and they use to eat something. For a reason, the public policy programs permit that the people stay in the rural areas. The other variable, the results, is negative, is talking about the temperature, is negative. As the temperature increases, reduce the agrodiversity. The distance from the markets, as long as so far from the capital city or the market, they increase the agrodiversity. That means that the rural areas so far from the capital city maintain the agrodiversity. The last one is year, is the time. Remember, I have this data collection from 2009 to 2023. And I put all the variables in stalk, in order. And these variables say that the time is passing, we lost agrodiversity. As long as it's increasing the time, we are losing agrodiversity. Why? Because the smallholder farmers leave a huge opportunity cost, and they prefer to work in the maquila sector, in the real estate, or probably migration, or also to work in mega proyectos like El Tren Maya, and they left the rural areas. As the time is passing, increasing, we are losing agrodiversity. The Mayan people, the Mayan culture, the Milpa system is a proof of the world. It's one example from the world. Why? It's a proposed world, degrowth, frugality. Why? The Milpa Maya, far from beginning merely of traditional farming techniques, is a territorialized socio-ecological system. And they have the principles now the central to the global degrowth movement, sufficiency ecological limits, rational well-being, a frugal abundance, reciprocity, and autonomy from extractivism. Economics is a no romanticization or no romantic idealization, but they concrete a living practice and stay in the local areas. You can see at least 9 points from the growth practice in the real life. The first one, sufficiency over accumulation. The second one is frugal living as ethical balance. The third one is a commons governance or local autonomy. The fourth one is low material and energy throughput. 5 is regenerative cycles or the ecological limits. 6, a multi-species conviviality. The 7th one is a place of knowledge system. The 8th is a resistance of capitalist extractivism. And the 9th is a vision of the good living beyond the growth. If you look at the local people, the Mayan people, the small scale farmers, they are convinced to live in a frugal kind of life. It's more easy. They don't get problems. They prefer to stay. If you look at this picture, these are small scale farmers. You can see there is no land. It is stony. That means that they produce enough with a small piece of land. Remember the Mayan civilization. They live and they produce milpa and they feed a huge civilization. This one is a huge land, quite stony, with a few earth. And the Mayan people put over there at least 3 crops: maize, squash, beans, and also chili, and also other crops to feed the local people. And they live with frugality. They live in frugality with a minimum. If you remember, the soil is stony. If you remember, the inputs is local seed. If you remember, the philosophy or the Mayan people philosophy is the relationship between humans and nature, and they feel part of the nature. Frugality philosophy is understood as minimal and sufficient resources for the maximum social, and the indigenous people recognize the values of the nature, and they live in peace, and they live with enough. They are thinking always in the community level. They are thinking about the nosotrics, we are us, and they take the decision, not individual decision. They are always thinking in a common manner of life. Some remarks and conclusions. Remember, the continuity of the Milpa Maya and biocultural heritage is called for some important factors. The old people is maintaining the Milpa system. The distance from the market is quite important. The traditional practices, beekeeping, solar, and forests are quite related. And stable crops is also important. They share many seeds. And also the public policy programs is able to maintain in the rural areas to the small scale farmers. And the knowledge is quite important, and heritage knowledge through generation to spread the knowledge to another young people. And finally, I would like to say that we're losing this cultural or biocultural heritage. We have to act now. We have to spread this kind of knowledge, invite to the young people, the global north to think about, and the global community thinking about the many traditional agriculture sectors around the world. This is a case. It's Yucatan. It's the Mayan people. I thank you for this presentation and your attendance. Thanks a lot.